How do everybody? As I said in my previous videos about this weekend and that it was going to get even worse, I've been watching events unfold online today, and I'm really, really sad to say that I'm proven beyond a shadow of a doubt. Today's just been absolute chaos. Now, I know there was a riot last night in Sunderland. A Citizens Advice Bureau was burnt down next door to a police office. It's a day office, so it wasn't an actual police station, not Man 24. And I cannot see this improving at all. I'm not going to share any videos to the things that I'm about to talk about because some of the things are far too graphic. By all means, spend your own time and go and look at it. But I just can't believe what's actually happening in the country and the irreconcilable state we find ourselves in, where both sides are refusing to acknowledge what either side is saying. And I am fully on board with the two-tiered policing, by the way. But I do understand the concerns of people on the left and what they're saying about the far right as well. Not that everybody is far right, far from it, but as not everybody on the left is a communist, there are communists in the left. And it's the same on the right, that the right does have some far right elements to it. But I do believe that it's been massively overblown, and basically the majority of it is working class concerns. The biggest problem I find is that people are trying to point to the citizen advice thing like it's the worst thing in the world, but bricks and mortars can be replaced, whereas those three little girls who were murdered can't. Today in Stoke, well, not just in Stoke, but across the country, gangs of Muslims are now roaming the streets. Stoke police, I believe, are lying. They've said that nobody has been stabbed, where a man on video, I believe, clearly states that he was attacked with hammers, and he appears to have a person next to him who's lying on the floor who does look like he has been stabbed. So I do believe that Stoke police are actually lying. That is probably to try and calm things down. I don't necessarily blame them for that. They certainly don't want the general public knowing that gangs of Muslim men are going around stabbing members of the public. There's been actual riots in Liverpool where they've tried to attack a mosque. Manchester's been kicking off. I think London's been kicking off. There appears to be giant barricades in the streets of Hull, which are being set on fire. I believe large gangs are roaming around Blackburn. There's just that much going on. I can't keep track of it all. There's just too much. There's far too much. It appears that Labour have completely and utterly lost control of the country. And the amount of people who've forgotten that Hare Hills and Whitechapels happened only 16 days ago as well, where the police did nothing. The police did absolutely nothing. Let us not forget that. And I mean, it's madness really, but the carnage of today has overshadowed news that a gang from, I believe, Leeds, a gang of Muslim men have been sentenced to I believe it's added up to 400 years. 26 men, I think it was, have a total of 400 years for abusing a underage white girl. It's madness. It's just absolute madness. You know, and people just are refusing to see it. And I'm not trying to legitimise the riots. I want to be very clear. I do not condone rioting at all. And if you're watching this, please stay away. Stay away from these gatherings, because all that will happen is it doesn't matter if you're right and justified, the state will come down on you like a ton of bricks, and they will not listen to a thing you've said, and you will be guilty before you even go into court. I am telling you now. They will not tolerate any of this. Forget how you think the world should work. Power works differently. The judge will be sat in the courtroom and everybody will just agree with the judge. Just like everybody agreed in COVID that masks worked until the day everybody decided that masks didn't work, and everybody agreed that it was a conspiracy theory, that COVID came from a biolab, and then all of a sudden now everybody agrees that it does come from a biolab. They will just blindly tell you you're guilty and they'll lock you up, and that'll be the end of it. And no amount of appealing and no amount of trying to, oh, well, this isn't how it's technically written, will matter. That isn't how power works. Right? That's a fantasy world. Right? Think of it like at school, when people all just decided that somebody stunk or somebody was a geek or a loser. The group just agreed. That's how power really works. You've got no control over it. They've decided that you're the enemy, and if you're there, they will come down on you like a ton of bricks, whether you're right or you're wrong. That's just the reality of it, unfortunately. That's how power really works. That's what people need to understand. Now, I'm not saying that these protests and things aren't working. This is the maddening part of it, because it shouldn't work like this. But unfortunately, as we saw with the Hare Hills riots, where those children got taken away from an abusive situation, well, those abused children were actually given back because the state is more interested in keeping the peace than actually protecting individual rights. That is the reality of what the apparatus of the state is about. It's all about protecting the state. The police are there to protect the state. The army's there to protect the state. The navy's there to protect the state. The MI5, MI6, they are there to protect the state. Guess what? Social services and all that are there to do the bidding of the state. So the state will do what's good for the state. Right? That is how it really works. And you need to understand that. And at this moment in time, they see white working class people as the problem. Now, granted, unfortunately, because people have been rioting, they got the name of that nonce released. Well, he's at trial. I have to take that back. Sorry, he's not a nonce. Suspected nonce. His name has been released because of the rioting. And we're going to start finding probably other things may start changing because of the rioting, but that's not how it shouldn't work like that. It really goddamn shouldn't work like that. We're not supposed to negotiate with terrorists. This was a thing going back to like the 60s and the 50s. We don't negotiate with terrorists. And I don't just mean these people at the moment who are rioting this weekend or this week just gone. And what about like those at Hare Hills? They should not give those children back. Like those guys at Manchester Airport when the police kicked him in the head. They shouldn't have released him without bail, and without charge. Sorry, on bail and without charge. They should have just said, no, we've arrested you, we're charging you, and we don't care what the mob's saying outside. But unfortunately, they kowtowed to the mob. Like when Parliament were quaking in the boots when the Palestine protesters were outside Parliament. Lindsay Hoyle on TV was nearly crying. He actually had tears down his face. You could see him. He was on the verge of crying. This is the problem we have with our society. It is full of now weak people who don't know how to actually manage it. And unfortunately, multiculturalism, as we've seen through the 20th century and much of history, multiculturalism leads to mass failure in society. The Rwandan genocide, multiculturalism. Kosovo, multiculturalism. That's Northern Ireland, multiculturalism. We could go on all day listing off more and more things. I'm not going to get into that. But everywhere you look, even bloody Israel-Palestine, multiculturalism. But have you noticed as well, all the people who are shouting from the rooftops about from the rivers to the sea, Palestine will be free, and, the Palestinian people deserve a land of their own, when English people are saying, well, we want our land for English people, or British people, however you want to word it, oh no, suddenly they're racist and bigots, aren't they? This is the absolute insanity of this whole situation. And this is why this problem isn't going to go away. Because now the genie is firmly out of the bottle, unfortunately. And I just think it's going to get worse and worse because people. I've been speaking to people today as well. They've been talking about, well, they brought the army in with Northern Ireland, didn't they? Well, yeah, they did bring the army in. But the difference is, though, is Northern Ireland's about 1.5 million people. England's estimated to be about 55 million people. I believe it's more like 68 million people in England, maybe 70 million people. I do not believe that the census is anywhere near correct. Although the government says we have, I think it's 68 to 70 million people living in the UK as combined. The water companies and the supermarkets and things like phone mobile contract operators, all these different businesses estimate we're more like about 80 million to 8 and possibly 85 million people. And I go with their estimates more than I go with the census because guess what? People who are here illegally don't sign the census. So the government only knows how many people are in the country legally, roughly. And again, this is part of the problem. We have got so many people living in the country. And the government, for too many years, have allowed everybody to live the way that they all want to live in some ways that are completely incompatible with our way of life. And now we're seeing this. Now we're seeing all this happening. It's not getting. I can't see this getting any better. At least not for the foreseeable future. And I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up leading to a collapse of the government. I actually originally believed that we were looking at between 18 months and 2 years for the government to collapse. I wouldn't be surprised if it collapses in the next 5 weeks, if I'm honest with you, at this rate. Like seriously. I cannot see this improving. And my biggest concern, and I want to be very clear about this, I do not want this. I absolutely do not want this. My biggest concern is we're going to see an English version of the IRA soon. I mean, we've already seen the Muslims have already formed a group called the Muslim Defence League. Oh, and that's another one. Nationalists and Unionists in Northern Ireland have been standing shoulder to shoulder today. 20 years of the Good Friday Agreement hasn't done anything for that. 60 years of fighting over there, hating each other. But all of a sudden, Keir Starmer's been in power for 5 weeks, and now all of a sudden, the two radical groups that were bombing each other and shooting each other in the street, they're now standing shoulder to shoulder. It's unbelievable. This is the madness that's happening. You actually couldn't make this up. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy what's happening. And then on the other side of the street from them, you've got the Rainbow Coalition with Palestine and Iranian flags. You can't make this up. I can't understand what's going on. I think we are actually in a civil war right now. I genuinely think that a civil war has now started in the UK. And I think it's going to get worse. I really, really think it's going to get worse. I think we're looking at, with what's been happening, like I've been saying, with this Muslim Defence League now, and with these quote-unquote far-right groups going out, I think we're actually seeing the start of a race war happening in England. And I'm really, really not bolding with it. It's really not going to bode well, this. It really isn't. As I say, stay away from the protest, guys. It's not worth it. Never mind getting arrested, it's not worth getting stabbed over. Because you don't know who's going to now be going out about the streets. Keep yourself safe. Look after yourselves. Look after your family. You've got to look after yourselves and keep yourself safe, guys. I'm not saying hide away and feel like outside my house now, peaceful and quiet, tranquil around here. Probably peaceful and quiet and tranquil in town. Oh, that's another one. In Stoke, where there's these gangs this big gang going around, the police are there. It's on video. Requesting everybody just hand your weapons in at the local mosque. Nobody's getting arrested. Nobody's getting taken away. Just politely asking, can you please just hand all your weapons in at the local mosque? In Blackpool today, where there's been a gathering of the Enough is Enough gathering, they've set dogs on all the white people. That's the difference in treatment on display for everybody to see. You can't make this stuff up, can you? This is the literal difference in two-tiered policing that they've been telling us doesn't exist. And you can see it happening in real time today. It's actually happening in real time. And this is why it's not going to get any better, because everybody in the country can see this happening. And you'll have those who hate the nationalists will be saying you deserve everything you get and the right to treat the Muslims kindly because they're innocent people and flowers and they need protecting. And then you'll have those on the nationalist side saying, I can't believe that we've been protesting and even rioting about the difference in treatment, and they're literally setting dogs on us whilst politely requesting those people hand all the weapons in after they've stabbed somebody and hit somebody with hammers. This is completely irreconcilable. And this is why it's not going to get any better, guys. We are really, really going towards dark days with this. And I can see this spreading as well. I don't think this is going to stay in England. I think this is going to spread to all corners of the UK, and possibly we're going to start seeing it on the mainland as well, and maybe even in America very soon. Bad times, people. Bad times. Look after yourselves and stay safe. Thank you. Goodbye.